Hello everybody, this is CyberEric Gaming with another video. This is the latest game from Battlefield Studios. We're going to be doing a gameplay review of Battlefield 6, the latest game from obviously Electronic Arts, first-person shooter, a lot of multiplayer action here, mostly going to be concentrating on the multiplayer. But before I start the video, I'll please mention to please like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out. So alright, so what is the gameplay specific? Gameplay is basically going to be obviously a first-person shooter, running around, shooting enemies. In this case here, I'm playing a multiplayer match. This is actually one of my first matches, basically getting a double kill, figuring out the map. You're going to have a lot of different enemies, right? Up to 64 players, 32 versus 32. And you're going to be basically fighting enemies here. When you go down, you can actually request to be revived. Here's an example, for example, where... and I'll show that later on as to like the reviving options, etc., etc. But basically, when you die, you basically get to select where you spawn. For example, here we're spawning at the top, and you basically can open up your parachute in. Immediately, I go into the hot zone, so I have to basically use smoke here. But basically, that's what you're going to be doing. You're going to be running around. Here I'm running around as a medic, and I'll explain what the classes are a little bit later in the video. But basically, you're running around. You're going to be defending particular zones. That is depending on the mode that you're working on here. Right now, here, this is a mode called Breakthrough, and I'll go over some of the specifics later. But basically, you're running around, you're aiming, you're shooting. You have different abilities. Like, for example, here I can put a shield on the ground, and that'll basically give you additional cover for your teammates and yourself. And for example, here I am as a medic. You can actually heal people. There's different abilities that each class will do, and I'll go over those later on in the video. So basically, when we're running around, fighting people, big open areas, here I am. You're going to be having vehicles. For example, this is a conquest map. You're starting the map, and you basically have one team on one side, one team on the other. And it's basically run around, capture the zones. Whoever captures the most zones, basically is going to win. But basically, this is the basics of it. It's a first-person shooter, multiplayer matches. Again, there's a single-player campaign, which I won't tackle here. But you're basically running around, you select where you spawn. For example, here I am with my teammates. These are the green dots there. And you'll be running around, spawning with them. And you basically, the idea is to either rush the particular objectives to kind of capture them, or just capture as many objectives in the different arenas. And there's a big open map. These aren't small maps for the most part, unlike Call of Duty. But there are modes where you can actually play small map modes, and I'll go over that later. That's mostly it. And this is, for example, this is an example of the healing mechanic. For example, you can actually grab a teammate, drag them, and heal them up. Obviously, you should probably do that when it's safe. For example, this is not a safe location. You see in the video there. But for example, when you get healed, this is me, the reverse around, you can actually get dragged. You see that little bar at the bottom, and that means that you heal. You can actually thank the people for healing you. That's the healing mechanic. Everybody can do that. The medic just does it a little bit fast. All right, classes overview.
Assault, Engineer, Support, and Recon. An iconic formula for Battlefield.
And yes, that is basically the classic over Battlefield formula. Here we're gonna go over a quick overview of the different classes. You see they have different classes, starting with Assault. Assault is basically gonna be your standard frontline fighter. He does be able to carry 2 primary weapons, and he has other things, other particular, like the deploy beacon there, which is basically a recon classic. It's being moved to the Assault for Battlefield 6. And for example, you're basically running around attacking, right? This is your main frontline attacking unit. And you're gonna be also have, like, for example, like the ladder here. This is basically what it lets you do. It lets you basically be able to move to higher positions. And then you can use for him. For example, here I am using the ladder again. You can usually use it horizontally to move around different locations. Next is the Engineer. Engineer is basically going to be your anti-armor, anti-vehicle, anti-tank loadout. You're going to be running around with rocket launchers, taking out enemy vehicles, anti-vehicle mines there, and other things that are basically help you take out enemy vehicles or even repair. So here I am using that particular tool on a friendly vehicle, and he's maxed health, so you won't be able to see the frame there. But basically, that's what you're going to be doing when you're running around, taking this out, helping your vehicles as the Engineer, but also being able to put mines on the ground, for example, here, or other rocket launchers, things to take out the enemy vehicles and block their pathways. So here I am fighting a tank close range. And here I miss his shot. So I'm like, oh no, I'm out of rockets at this point. So I'm like, hey, if you heal the enemy tank, you will not heal him, you will hurt him. So at this point, that tank is just running around away from me. And that is a really cool sequence where he's now on fire. He's done. Unless somebody heals him, he's done. And again, he ran me over, but I took him out in the end. He blows up like the second after this. Alright, next class. Next class is support. This is going to be your medic supporting. He gives ammo, he gives med kits. This class will have things like the defibrillator, the grenade intercept system, which I'll show in a second, and other things like a deployable cover and other things that will basically help you support your teammates. So okay, next, recon. Recon's basically going to be your spotting unit. You're going to be basically marking enemies on the map. It is basically a long-range unit. You'll be using DMRs and the sniper rifles. Here's some quick gameplay for the recon class, where here I am placing a claymore mine and one of these sensors that basically tells you where the enemies are next to each other. It's a good combo to know where enemies are coming and to protect. And here I'm using the sensor to basically detect enemies using infrared. But again, here I am sniping, trying to see if I can find an enemy. Here I saw somebody out the window, so don't mind if I do. Thank you for peeking. Alright, so different modes real quick, and I mentioned here. Basically, I wanted to kind of go over some of the modes here. Breakthrough, Conquest, etc, etc. There's a lot of different modes. I can't go over all of them, but I'm going to go some of the more basic ones, such as, for example, the Attack and Defend here. And Conquest, and also some like small map modes, and also the portal system where you can actually select different modes that you care for. So for example, this is Conquest. It's a big open map. You get to select, and you have the different A, B, C, D, E zones to capture. And you're basically gonna spawn, you're gonna jump in, and you're gonna be able to either take it or defend it. In this case, I'm trying to take this guy out. But that's basically gonna be Conquest. You're gonna be running around. For example, you see at the option here, which is losing. There's like 1 and 3. We have to take out the enemies here. In this case, we have taken them out. Took one out. My teammates took out the rest. And now we're capturing the zone again. In this case, zone C. You see at the top there. The zone is being captured. And that's basically it. You're going to be running around Conquest. You're going to be capturing the zones. The more zones you have, the more your kills count towards the tickets at the top there. 513 versus 280 something. That's basically what you're going to be doing. Lowering the enemy's tickets until you get them. Okay. So Breakthrough. Breakthrough, basically you're going to be the same thing, otherwise, but you're going to be basically in a zone where there's 1 or 2 zones that you have to capture. And I'm showing them here on the ground. Here you see the blue lines. Where I'm outside. Here I am inside, outside, inside. And that's basically, for example, us defending this zone A. This is the only zone. This is the beginning of the match. The other thing is Portal. Portal here, as you see in the background. You're going to be able to select different modes, etc, etc. And you can select even user-created maps. For example, here somebody created the shipment map from Call of Duty in Battlefield 6. So here I am showing the map, just to kind of see it. It's a very good recreation of the entire shipment map. If you play Call of Duty and you play that, you know what it is. However, it is using the Battlefield 6 engine, right, and perks. So you're gonna have things like, here I'm using the ladder to kind of break the map a little. So again, not the most competitive thing. It is not designed for this. But for example, here I am playing shipment, but I am on top of the containers. So alright, final verdict. Yeah, Battlefield 6, I'm having a lot of fun. I'm a huge Battlefield fan. Here I am, for example, sneaking behind somebody and just grabbing their tags, which you can do, for example. So I wanted to show that. But again, it's a multiplayer first-person shooter. If you are used to the Battlefield franchise, I don't need to tell you anything. This is the next Battlefield. It runs very, very good from my first interpretations after the first week. And I did play the beta. And again, it runs great. There's a couple of changes that I'm not used to. This is coming from Battlefield like 4, the Battlefield 1, Battlefield 2032. But for the most part, it works. And there are going to be some, for example, some small glitches here and there that you're going to find, particularly at launch of a game. For example, here I was trying to kind of climb on this ladder. And I noticed that if you put it in that particular spot, it'll just bounce you randomly away. So again, FYI, if EA, if you're seeing this or anybody's seeing this, feel free to tag this as a little glitch. It's more fun than anything. It actually doesn't break anything. You can still climb it if you grab it correctly, but for the most part, that's it. Basically, that's it. You're gonna be running around spawning. You're gonna be finding different objectives, capturing them, and taking out the enemies. It's a much bigger maps than any sort of like Call of Duty, for example. Think of it more like Warzone, but for example, I'm a Battlefield fan, so I really enjoyed this. I highly recommend it. I think it's a 9 out of 10 in terms of like a review. So I'm just having a lot of fun with it. I'm gonna be playing this for the next couple of years. And with that, please like and subscribe. That is it for my video. And have a good one, everyone.